Hey everyone, today we're playing Sagrada with the life expansion. Let's get to it.
Are playing Sagrada with the new life expansion
that just came out.
Yeah. So Sagrada is a dice drafting and placement game where we draft these colorful die here and place them into stained glass windows that we are trying to build. And it's a sort of a puzzle game where we're trying to place dice in the best way possible so that we can fill up as much of our window as possible while trying to hit as many of the scoring parameters for the game as possible. So every game, there are three public objectives that tell you different ways that you can score, and then every player also gets a private objective. I'm not going to show you mine, but that's mine, and Nick has one as well.
Yes, I do.
So the private objectives with the base game, it was just color. So I believe there are 5 different colors in the game, and each private objective could be any one of those colors. At the end of the game, you get 1 point for every pip. That's the little white mark on the die. Every pip of the color. So if my private objective color was purple, and if I had done very, very badly and I only had this one purple die in my window at the end of the game, I would just get 5 points for my secret objective.
Okay.
So that's one way to get points. Doing the public objectives is another way to get points, but it is a puzzle game because you have to place the dice that you draft into your window in certain ways. The first dice that you draft in the entire game has to be placed somewhere along the outside edge, and then every die after that has to be placed adjacent, and it can be orthogonally, that means up, down, left, or right, or diagonally, which means diagonally. So, of the one that you've placed previously. So, let's say that I had placed this here on my first turn. On my next turn, I could place this here. I could place it here. I could place, if it was this one, I could place it here. I could not, however, place it here, though, because one of the other rules about placement is that you can never have 2 of the same color touching each other orthogonally. So I couldn't do that. Now, if you find yourself in a position where you are stuck, there are tools that you can use to sort of manipulate your placement or the dice that you're going to draft that turn or that kind of thing. However, you only get a certain number of stones that you get to use in order to pay for the tools. And the number of stones that you get is determined by the difficulty level of the window that you chose at the beginning of the game. So at the beginning of the game, every player was dealt 2 of these windows. You choose one, that's the one that you're attempting to complete for the rest of the game, and that tells you how many of these stones that you get. At the end of the game, if you haven't spent these, they're worth some points. However, they're probably more useful to you to spend to use tools. The first player to use a tool only has to spend 1 stone to use that tool. But then after that, players have to spend 2 stones. And it does not go up more than that after the fact. So once it's been paid for once, then every other time after that, you just have to spend 2 stones to be able to use that tool. You can use 1 tool per turn if you want, until you run out of stones. And so what happens is, at the beginning of a round, you take the number of dice for the number of players that you're playing with. And it's always 2 dice per player plus an extra die. So we're playing a 2-player game. We're going to take 2 dice for Nick, 2 dice for me, and 1 for the extra player. Now, normally these would all be in the bag, so I wouldn't actually be able to get to choose the colors like that. But we would draft out 5 dice. We'd give them a roll. And then starting with the start player, 1 player would draft a die, place it into their window. Then the next player would get to draft 2 dice, placing each one into their window. Then it would come back to the start player again, and that player would draft their second die. That leaves 1 die left, and it goes onto the round marker. After 10 rounds, the game is over. We add up all of our points. We see who has the most. That player wins.
Cool.
You get points, like I said, from completing the public and private objectives. You also get some points if you have stones left. You lose points if you have empty spaces left in your window. And we are playing today with one of the modules from the Life expansion. So, the Life expansion is the second expansion to come out for the game, and it is modular based. So there are a couple different types of things that the expansion adds to the game, and you can add them in sort of a mix and match sort of way. So you can add just one if you want to the base game, or you can add all of it to the base game at the same time if you want to. You can add some of the contents from the other expansion if you want to, in with one or both of these modules, however you like. We're just gonna do one module at a time. So we are going to, for our first game with the Life expansion, we are going to be playing with the Apprentice Module, which means that we are going to be playing with these cards right here and special windows that have this symbol on them. The first time that you place a die over a symbol, you can either take the top card of the discard pile, or you can draw 2 cards from the deck and take one of them. They're going to either give you a one-time use ability that you can play later in the game, or they're going to give you an ability that you can do for the rest of the game. So that is everything new about the expansion that we are using, or the module, excuse me, that we are using. There's also another module in here called the Masterworks module. We're going to leave that one out for now. It has been a hot minute since we have played Sagrada. We have the base game, and we have the first expansion for it. And we've got some promo content and stuff like that, but it's been a hot minute since we've played. So we're going to kind of take it a little easy.
We're going to dip our toes right back into the hotness.
Yep. Go back and try the Apprentice module with sort of a refresh for us for the base game. And then once we've got that under our belts, we'll try the Masterworks module. And then maybe we'll just try both of them, or maybe we'll mix in some stuff from
everything.
The first expansion in there as well. Would you like to hear some of the flavor text of the game?
I would like some flavor text.
All right, so this is about Sagrada, the base game. You are an artist competing with fellow artists to create the most beautiful stained glass window in the Sagrada Familia. Your glass pieces are represented by dice, which have a color and a shade, indicated by the values on the dice. The lower the value, the lighter the shade. Each round, players will take turns drafting from a pool of dice, placing these dice on their window. Players must place them within the color and shade restrictions on their window card, and never have adjacent dice of the same color or value. Wait, I left that out. You also can't have the same value next to each other. After 10 rounds, players score points based on public and private objectives. The highest scoring artisan is the winner. So that's sort of like the introduction to the game. The Sagrada Familia was an Italian family that was responsible for creating gorgeous stained glass windows throughout Europe. So this is supposed to be like reminiscent of that. We're working on windows. All right. And then for the Life expansion, it says, return again to the famous Sagrada Familia Cathedral in Sagrada Life, the second of the 3 Great Facades expansions. This modular expansion explores the journey of life through hardships and helpers. Add everything inside or handpick individual modules to enhance your crafting experience.
Ooh.
All right.
All right, so we're going to go ahead and get into it, and then we will come back mid-game. So that's, round 5. And talk to you guys a little bit more about what we think of this new expansion for Sagrada. Oh yeah. Alright, until then, toodles! Sir, how's it going?
It's going.
How are you doing in Sagrada so far?
Right now I feel pretty good.
Okay.
We're only halfway through the game, but I feel pretty good.
Alright.
I have one complete set of
a different color
yeah,
column.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm already getting 5 points for that, and I'm in a good position to do that at least a couple more times. So I feel good about that. I've been keeping an eye on these objectives as well, and I feel fairly good about that. This isn't going super great for me, but maybe
It's kind of like icing on the top.
Yeah.
If you make all this work, all the public stuff, the secret stuff is kind of like icing on the top.
Yeah.
Like mine is kind of working, but it is.
I think I know that your secret color is red. That's my guess.
That's your guess, huh?
That's my guess.
Well, the viewers already know what my secret color
that's
is because
true.
I did show them.
Well, I'll tell you, viewers. I think he has red because he's only drafted 2 red die, but both of them has been value 6 die. And at one point, he like had a different die in his hand, and he was like, "Oh, no, wait!" And he like put it back, and then he took a red number 6. So I think that maybe the secret is red.
Just maybe.
What do you think of the apprentices?
So my apprentice card is actually pretty darn good. I think they're definitely worthwhile, but you also have to be very careful of what you pick. Like I had, my card's very helpful in tight situations, and so
I've been able to pull 2 apprentice cards.
Yeah, I was about to say I was about to get my second one. I was supposed to get a second one. I'll get that once we're.
I feel like this one is not really going to be that useful to me because I'll just tell you, it relates to color restrictions, and I only have 2.
And you're a boss right now, so just.
And then this one right here, this one might be really helpful to get me out of a jam later. So I'm kind of hanging on to this one and seeing as the game sort of tightens up if maybe this one will be useful to me. But as of right now, the apprentices have just kind of been like, that's interesting, but I haven't really been able to like pull them off, air quotes.
Yeah.
So.
All right. So we'll keep playing, and we'll get back to you guys when we get to the end of the game and we decide, or the Sagrada decides.
Oh, I did have this one apprentice. This was so when you on your turn, when you cover up one of those spaces in your window and you can draw apprentice cards, you can either draw the top card of the discard pile, or you can draw 2 cards off of the draw pile, and then of those you keep one and discard the other. This one was one of the ones I drew blindly off the top, so I got 2 cards. This was the one I didn't keep. And this one I think is really interesting. It says that you would gain 20 victory points for each public or private objective where you would score 0 points. You may only gain these points if you have no empty spaces in your window. So if you completely fill up your window, if you managed to not score one of the public objectives or your private objective, you'd get 20 points for that. However, the reason I didn't take this one is because...
You were scoring for the other ones.
Yes, there was only one public objective that I was not scoring for, and I was really close to being able to score for it a few times. So I was like, okay, well
that's kind of nice
20
though.
Points is great, but I'm already not able to maximize this. But I did think it was a really interesting choice.
Yeah, because that's pretty cool. Because sometimes in the game of Sagrada, like you'll just get messed up, and you'll be like, oh well, I can't complete anything. But that card right there could just be a game changer. And people could all of a sudden just be like, oh, you're not going to win,
or
so I'm not going
to... If it shows up early in the game, too, that could
you
be
can
really
intentionally just be
then,
like...
Yeah, then you could just intentionally ruin your chances of doing any of the objectives.
Yeah.
And that could be an interesting way to get points.
Pretty cool. Well, all right, so we will get back to you guys when we discover a winner and loser of Sagrada and Sagrada Life. All right. Oh, toodles. So, how did scoring go for the end of the game?
So scoring went. I did not do as well as Nick. So.
But you didn't do that badly either.
No, not really. I had 48 points at the end of the game.
I had what, 50?
You had 54.
54.
So it was a 6-point difference.
Yeah, not too bad. This is but look at, you only missed, we had very optimal boards. I would say so.
I missed...
We only missed one to put on the board, but we both missed also one of
I messed this column up just because I had to take a color that already repeated, and then I could not complete this column. So of my 5 columns, I only scored this 3 times. I only scored this once because I only had one freaking 3. Should have been paying more attention to that. And then this one right here, I got to score 4 times, but you also scored it 4 times. Yeah. So we tied on these 2. You beat me on this one. You beat me on your private objective by 2 points. Yeah, so.
So at first, with this game, I thought with the So first with the life expansion and having the apprentices in this in the game we decided to play of Sagrada, adding the apprentices were at first it was like very like okay, it's there, but then when they came and when they were needed, they like did clutch moves. Like I was really sweating. I was gonna lose a lot more points if I didn't have my apprentice with me. Because I played that apprentice card and it saved me probably 10 or more points. So they're really nice and it was good. It's a nice addition to the game, especially with even more players. They will come in even in more handier, and you'll be able to see more because more people will be picking up those cards. So, I really liked this, and I'm excited to play with more of the other expansions.
The expansion module that we have not played with yet, the Masterworks expansion, the Masterworks module, it has new dice, and they have strange symbols on them. So I'm very excited to see what they do. It also has some new tools. And it has a board that I don't know what any of this means, but I'm excited to see what the Masterworks expansion the Masterworks module from the Life expansion brings, because I think this is going to be really interesting.
Yeah, me too. When I saw him on, I think I saw the dice first on Instagram, and I was like, "Ooh, what you doing over there, Floodgate?" but yeah, so I enjoy Sagrada a lot. It was one of the first puzzle-like games I was introduced to, and it just was it got to the point where I was like, I like games that this is what I have to deal with, so make it work. And Sagrada definitely does that for me, where it's like, okay, here is your parameters. Go ahead and do the best you can, and if you do, then it makes me like I won this game, so it made me feel like I was to myself, not even to like another player. I was the best for myself. I was efficient. For myself.
I feel like it's definitely a game where like the challenge is against your own mind and how well you can do like in the game. The challenge, I mean, it is a competitive game, and like obviously it comes down to like one winner, right? But I feel like it doesn't feel a ton like it's against the other players. It feels more like it's against the puzzle itself, and it's against your own mind to see if you can, best yourself kind of thing.
Yeah, which is pretty cool.
Now that doesn't necessarily mean that it's not a competitive experience, right? Like,
exactly.
Like it is a drafting game, so like sometimes it's to your advantage to hate draft. With the secret objectives, if you think you know someone's secret objective, then like definitely you want to try to keep those dice away from them.
Yeah.
So like it is definitely like a full-on competitive game, but it feels like the competition is more within your own self and like between you and the game than like between you and the other players.
Yeah.
It's not like an aggressively competitive game.
Yeah.
I don't think.
All right, that was Sagrada with the Life expansion, and we played with the Apprentices module within our game, and it was a nice addition. It was definitely a thumbs up for people that are on the fence about Sagrada and its many expansions.
If you like Sagrada, or if you have stayed away from Sagrada because you're a little worried that it's not very forgiving, then I would definitely try this, because it felt like, so the base game of Sagrada is very much just like this cut and dry puzzle where you're placing die, drafting and placing die, and you're trying to figure out like the best possible way that you can do that, right? It's a very tight experience. It's very hard to like get exactly what you need throughout the entire game, right? It's difficult not to mess up, in my opinion. I think a lot of people struggle not to make mistakes in this game, just because it is a very, it's not super deep, but you have to think fairly deeply about it. So I think if you want a little bit more wiggle room in base game Sagrada, or if you've been put off of Sagrada because it seems too tight, then I would definitely try it with the Apprentices module from the Life expansion, because it gives you just a little bit of room where you can kind of wiggle, and it gives you a little bit of... The tools have always been there for us. They've been there since the beginning of the game's life. They've always been a part of the game, and they do allow you to kind of manipulate things as you may need to sometimes, but they can be costly to use sometimes.
And they cost me quick. Like, I only got 2 this whole game, and I had to spend them right away, and so I was already out. But with the Apprentices, I was able to kind of get another point of saving myself.
Exactly.
And it was a gamble, because there was a card on top. I saw that, or I could get 2 cards and then pick one. And I was like, that card on top wasn't that bad, but I want to go ahead and draw 2 cards. And doing so got me to a point where I would be like, okay, this is going to save me when the game gets closer towards the end.
And I had one, and I don't remember which one it was, but I had one that I spent, this one right here. This one allowed you to ignore color restrictions this round. And I spent that in a round where I only used it on one of my 2 turns. And I probably should have waited a little bit longer and used it on a turn where it would have been useful to me on both of my turns that round. So yeah. Anyway, the Apprentices are cool. I think they add just a teeny tiny little bit. They really didn't add a lot of complication, or like not even very many new rules or anything like that. So they did not add a lot as far as like what you need to know and keep track of throughout the game. But I think they did add, like I said, that wiggle room that gives you just a little bit of room to maneuver if you find the puzzle to be difficult in general, or if the dice are not coming out of the bag the way you need them to, or that kind of thing. The Apprentices just give you a little bit of room to maneuver around those sort of ironclad situations you may find yourself in otherwise.
Awesome. All right, everybody. So that was, again, Sagrada with the Life expansion and the module of the Apprentices. And so, yeah, that's it for this vlog. We'll get to you guys next time. All right. Toodles!